Hey everyone, today we're diving into a jaw-dropping family drama that'll leave you speechless. Imagine this. I'm 8 months pregnant, waddling around my own home, when my mother-in-law storms in and demands I hand over our house, so get out. Yes, you heard that right. She wanted to kick me, a pregnant woman, to the curb over a property dispute that came out of nowhere. The betrayal stung like a slap across the face, and the greed in her eyes unforgettable. This is the story of how my world turned upside down. A tale of family secrets, injustice, and a fight for what's mine. Stick around to uncover the truth behind this shocking eviction, trust me. You won't believe what happens next. I'll never forget that sweltering July afternoon. My husband, Tom, and I had been living in our cozy 2-story home for 3 years. A place we'd poured our savings into. It wasn't a mansion, but it was ours, our sanctuary, where we'd planned to raise our baby girl. I was in the nursery, folding tiny onesies, when the doorbell rang. My mother-in-law, Barbara, didn't wait for an invitation. She barged in, her heels clicking like a countdown to chaos. "We need to talk," she said, her voice sharp as a knife. I offered her tea, trying to keep things civil, but her cold stare told me this wasn't a friendly visit. Barbara sat at our kitchen table, clutching a manila envelope. "This house," she began. "It's not really yours." My heart skipped a beat. What was she talking about? Tom and I had bought it fair and square. With a mortgage we were still paying off. She slid a document across the table, some old property deed with her late husband's name on it. "This was my husband's land," she claimed. "You're living on borrowed time." I laughed nervously, thinking it was a misunderstanding. But her next words chilled me to the bone. "Sign it over to me, or you're out by next week." I was stunned. My hands trembled as I pushed the document back. "This is our home, Barbara. We bought it legally." But she didn't budge. Her face hardened, and she leaned in close, whispering, "You don't belong here, and you know it." The venom in her voice made my stomach churn. I was carrying her grandchild. For God's sake, how could she be so heartless? I tried calling Tom, but he was stuck at work, leaving me to face this ambush alone. What would you do if your own family turned on you like this? As Barbara stormed out, she left the deed on the table like a ticking time bomb. I sank into a chair, my mind racing. Why now? Why, after 3 years of silence, I'd always known Barbara was controlling, always meddling in our marriage, criticizing my cooking, my clothes, even my pregnancy choices. But this was a new low. I stared at the nursery door, picturing my unborn daughter, and felt a fire ignite inside me. This wasn't just about a house. It was about our future, our family. I wasn't going to let her steal it without a fight. That night, Tom came home, and I spilled everything. His face went pale as I showed him the deed. "She's out of her mind," he muttered. But I saw the flicker of doubt in his eyes. Barbara was his mother. After all, could he stand up to her? I needed him to be my rock. But the weight of her threat hung over us like a storm cloud. Have you ever felt betrayed by someone you trusted? That's exactly where I was trapped, between fear and fury, with a baby on the way and a mother-in-law determined to destroy us. What's the real cost of family greed? Let's find out. The next morning, I woke up with a knot in my stomach, Barbara's threat echoing in my head. I couldn't shake the image of her smug face as she slid that deed across my table. Tom was already up, pacing the kitchen, his phone buzzing with missed calls from his mother. "She's serious," he said, his voice tight. I wanted to scream, but I needed answers. Why was Barbara so hell-bent on taking our home? What was she hiding? I decided to dig deeper, and what I found made my blood run cold. This wasn't just about a house, it was about control, greed, and a secret she'd buried for years. I started with the deed itself. It was old, yellowed, and stamped with the notary seal from decades ago. It listed Barbara's late husband, George, as the owner of the land our house sat on. But something felt off. Tom and I had a clear title. When we bought the place, our lawyer had triple-checked it. So, I called our real estate agent, Sarah, who'd helped us close the deal. "That deed's ancient," she said after I emailed her a photo. "It might have been valid once, but the land was sold off years ago. Barbara's got no claim." Then why was she acting like she owned our lives? I wasn't convinced it was a simple mistake. Barbara wasn't the type to bluff without a plan. I started snooping online, searching property records and old news articles. That's when I stumbled on a forum post from a local historian. It mentioned George's estate, apparently. He'd owned several plots of land, including ours, but sold most of them before his death. One plot, though, had been tied up in a shady deal. The post hinted at Barbara strong-arming buyers to reclaim her land after George passed. Was she pulling the same stunt with us? My suspicions grew when Tom let slip something chilling. "Mom's been talking about selling property lately," he said, avoiding my eyes. "She's got debts." Debts. Barbara lived in a gated community, drove a Lexus, and bragged about her investments. But Tom admitted she'd been asking him for money, claiming she needed to secure her future. It hit me like a ton of bricks. She wasn't just trying to take our house. She wanted to sell it out from under us. Our home, our baby's future, was just collateral for her lifestyle. Have you ever realized someone you trusted was playing you for a fool? I confronted Tom with my findings. "Your mom's not protecting family history. She's protecting her bank account." He looked torn, his loyalty to me clashing with years of his mother's guilt trips. I pushed harder, showing him the forum post and Sarah's email. "She's lying. Tom, she's using that deed to scare us." He nodded slowly, but I could tell he was still caught in her web. Barbara had always known how to pull his strings, and now she was tugging harder than ever. By that evening, my phone pinged with a text from Barbara, "Last chance. Sign the deed, or I'll make this ugly." My heart raced. What did ugly mean? Was she planning to drag us to court, harass us until we caved? I felt trapped, my pregnancy making every decision heavier. But one thing was clear. Barbara wasn't just after our house, she wanted to break us. What would you do if someone tried to steal your home with a lie? The truth was out there, and I was determined to expose her before she destroyed everything we'd built. Stay tuned. Things are about to get explosive. Tom's silence was deafening as I stared at him, waiting for him to pick a side. Barbara's text, "I'll make this ugly," hung over us like a guillotine. I was 8 months pregnant, hormonal and terrified, but I refused to let her win. "Tom," I said, my voice shaking, "are you with me? Or are you going to let your mom tear us apart?" His eyes darted away, and in that moment I realized this wasn't just about Barbara anymore. My husband was caught in a tug-of-war between his mother and me. and his indecision was tearing our family apart. How do you fight for your home when the person you love most is stuck in the middle? Tom finally spoke, his words careful. I don't think Mom would lie, but I don't know. His doubts stung worse than Barbara's threats. I wanted to scream that she was manipulating him, but I needed him on my side. So I tried a softer approach. Let's talk to her together, I suggested. We'll ask for proof. He nodded, but I could see the dread in his eyes. Barbara had always been the puppet master in their family, and Tom was her favorite marionette. We invited Barbara over the next day, hoping to clear the air. She arrived with that same manila envelope, her smile as fake as her designer handbag. I'm glad you're ready to listen, she said, ignoring me and patting Tom's arm. I bit my tongue as she launched into a sob story how George's land was her legacy, how we were disrespecting his memory by living here. But when I asked for legal proof tying her to our house, her smile faltered. It's complicated, she snapped. Complicated, or a flat-out lie? Tom shifted uncomfortably, finally speaking up. Mom, we have a title. The bank approved it. Why didn't you bring this up before Barbara's eyes narrowed? And for a second, I saw panic. You're too young to understand, she said, her voice dripping with condescension. This is family business. I couldn't stay quiet anymore. Family, I shot back. You're threatening to evict your pregnant daughter-in-law. What kind of family does that? The room went silent, and Tom's face flushed. Have you ever watched someone you love realize their hero might be the villain? Barbara stormed out, muttering about ungrateful kids. But not before warning Tom. Choose carefully. Son. Her words lit a fire in me, but they also exposed the cracks in our marriage. That night, Tom admitted he felt guilty. She raised me alone. He said, I owe her. I wanted to shake him, owe her what our home, our baby's future. But I saw the pain in his eyes, the weight of years under Barbara's thumb. I realized this fight wasn't just about the house. It was about breaking free from her control. I stayed up late, replaying our argument. Tom's loyalty was split, and I felt alone, my belly heavy with our daughter. But giving up wasn't an option. I started researching family law, looking for ways to protect our home. One article mentioned adverse possession, if Barbara hadn't claimed the land in years. Her deed might be worthless. It was a glimmer of hope. But I needed Tom to stand with me. Could he break free from his mother's grip? Or was our family doomed to fracture under her greed? What would you do if your spouse couldn't choose between you and a toxic parent? The battle was just beginning, and the stakes were about to get even higher. Barbara's parting shot, warning Tom to choose, carefully lit a fuse that exploded our private drama into a public spectacle. I was done playing nice. If she wanted a fight, I'd give her one, but I never expected it to go viral. After she left, I sat on the couch, my hands cradling my belly, feeling our baby kick. This wasn't just about me anymore. It was about protecting my daughter's future. I decided to share our story online, not for pity, but to expose Barbara's greed. What happened next was a whirlwind that turned our family feud into a national debate. Have you ever seen a personal betrayal blow up for the world to judge? I posted a short video on social media, my voice shaking as I recounted Barbara's threat to evict us. I'm 8 months pregnant? I said, holding up the old deed she'd waved in my face. My mother-in-law wants our home, and she's using this to scare us. Is this what family does. I didn't expect much, just a few supportive comments from friends. But within hours, the video racked up thousands of views. By morning, it had gone viral, shared by strangers who were outraged at Barbara's audacity. Comments flooded in. What kind of monster threatens a pregnant woman? She's after the money. Guaranteed. The attention was overwhelming. But it gave me strength. People were on my side, calling Barbara out for her heartless power grab. Some shared their own stories of toxic in-laws, making me feel less alone. But not everyone was team daughter-in-law. A few comments accused me of exaggerating, saying, "She's still Tom's mum. Show some respect, it stung." But it also made me realize how divisive this was. Family betrayal isn't just personal. It's a lightning rod for everyone's values. Who do you think was right, me for fighting back? Or Barbara for claiming her legacy? Tom, though, wasn't thrilled about the spotlight. "You put Mom on blast?" he said, his jaw tight. I fired back. "She put us on the street." He didn't argue, but I could see the guilt eating at him. The viral post was straining our marriage, and Barbara wasn't slowing down. She called Tom, furious, claiming I'd ruined her reputation. Then she doubled down, posting her own video, a tearful rant about how I was stealing her late husband's land. "I just want what's mine," she sobbed, playing the grieving widow card. It was a masterclass in manipulation, and it worked. Her video got traction, splitting the internet into camps, Team Barbara versus Team Me. The online war escalated when a local news outlet picked up the story. They called our dispute the family feud dividing the nation. And suddenly, reporters were knocking. I agreed to an interview, hoping to set the record straight. "This isn't about land," I told the camera. "It's about a mother-in-law trying to control our lives." The segment aired, and the backlash against Barbara grew. But so did the pressure on us. Trolls started DMing me, calling me a gold digger who married Tom for the house. Can you imagine being attacked by strangers while fighting for your home? Through it all, I kept digging into Barbara's claims, reaching out to a lawyer friend who confirmed what I'd suspected her deed was outdated, legally meaningless. But the public didn't know that yet. And Barbara was milking the sympathy for all it was worth. As the internet raged, I felt a mix of hope and dread. The world was watching. But would the truth come out before Barbara's lies destroyed us? What happens when a family secret becomes a public circus? Stick around, the real bombshell is coming. The viral storm was raging, and Barbara's tearful video had painted her as the victim, while I was dodging online hate, calling me a homewrecker. But I wasn't backing down. My lawyer friend's words echoed in my head. Barbara's deed was worthless. If she was lying about that, what else was she hiding? I needed to expose her, not just for me, but for my unborn daughter and the home we deserved. When Barbara agreed to a face-to-face meeting, I thought I'd get answers. Instead, her cruel justifications unraveled her facade, revealing a woman driven by greed and control. Can you believe someone would stoop so low to save face? We met at a neutral spot, a coffee shop downtown. Tom insisted on coming, his face a mask of tension. Barbara arrived late, her chin high, as if she owned the place. "I'm here to settle this," she said, her voice dripping with self-righteousness. I cut to the chase. "Your deed's outdated. Our lawyer checked." "Why are you doing this?" Her eyes flickered, but she didn't miss a beat. That house is my husband's legacy, she said. You're living there out of my generosity. Generosity? She threatened to evict me while I was pregnant. Tom shifted in his seat, finally speaking. Mom, the title's in our name. You never mentioned this before. Barbara's face tightened, and she launched into a new excuse. I didn't want to burden you, she said, her voice softening. But I'm struggling. I need the money from that land to survive. Struggling, I thought of her Lexus, her gated community condo. I pressed her. If you're broke, why not sell your own place? She froze, then snapped. You have no right to question me. You're not even family. Her words hit like a punch. Not family, I was carrying her grandchild. I pulled out my phone, showing her the property records I'd found. This says George sold the land years ago. You have no claim. For a second, she looked cornered, but then she doubled down. Those records are wrong, she insisted. I'll prove it in court if I have to. Court, my heart sank. A lawsuit would drain us, especially with a baby on the way. Tom looked torn, his loyalty wavering again. Mom, please, he said. Let's work this out. But Barbara stood, tossing a final barb. You'll regret crossing me. That night, I couldn't sleep, replaying her lies. She wasn't struggling. She was scheming. I dug deeper online and found a recent real estate listing tied to Barbara's name. She was trying to sell another property, not ours, but the listing mentioned additional assets in negotiation. Was our house one of them? I showed Tom, and for the first time, he looked angry. She's playing us, he said. It was a breakthrough, but it didn't erase the hurt. Have you ever realized someone's love comes with strings attached? The public was still buzzing, with comments on my video now split. Some called Barbara a poor widow, buying her act, while others demanded proof of her claims. I wanted to scream the truth, but I needed hard evidence to shut her down for good. Barbara's justifications were crumbling, but she was ready to drag this into court, betting we'd cave under pressure. What would you do if someone lied to steal your future? The fight was far from over, and I was about to uncover a secret that would change everything. Stay tuned, you won't believe what's next. Barbara's threat to drag us to court felt like a noose tightening around our necks. I was exhausted, my pregnancy making every step heavier. But her lies fueled my resolve. She wasn't just after our house, she was trying to break us. I couldn't let her win, not when our daughter's future was at stake. With Tom finally starting to see through his mother's facade, I decided it was time to fight back, not just with words, but with action. What I did next shocked even me, and it turned our family drama into a battle for justice. Have you ever had to stand up to someone who thought they could bully you into submission? I started by hiring a lawyer, Emily, who specialized in property disputes. She reviewed our title and Barbara's deed, confirming what I'd suspected her claim is baseless. The land was sold decades ago, but Emily warned that Barbara could still tie us up in court, draining our savings. We need to shut this down fast, she said. So, I got proactive. I contacted the county clerk's office and requested every record tied to our property. After days of digging, I found a bombshell, a 1990 sale document showing George had sold the land to a developer, with Barbara's signature as a witness. She'd known all along her deed was worthless. Armed with this, I decided to confront Barbara publicly. I posted another video, this time with receipts. Here's the proof. I said, holding up the sale document. My mother-in-law's been lying to take our home. I laid out the timeline: George's sale, Barbara's fake deed, her struggling widow act. The video exploded, racking up millions of views. Comments poured in. She's a fraud. Protect your family. But Barbara didn't back down. She commented on my post, calling the document forged and accusing me of slandering her. The audacity made my blood boil. Who lies this brazenly when caught red-handed? Tom was shaken by the evidence. I can't believe she signed that sale, he said, his voice hollow. I saw the pain of betrayal in his eyes. And for the first time, he was fully on my side. We met with Emily to plan our next move, a cease and desist letter demanding Barbara drop her claim or face a countersuit for harassment. Sending it felt like firing a shot across her bow. But I didn't stop there. I reached out to a local journalist who'd covered our story, sharing the sale document. She ran a follow-up piece titled "Widow's Greed Exposed," and the public backlash against Barbara intensified. Barbara called Tom, furious, but he held firm. "Mom, stop this," he said. "You're hurting everyone." Her silence on the line was deafening. I felt a flicker of victory, but also dread. Barbara wasn't the type to go quietly. Sure enough, she hired a lawyer and filed a formal claim, alleging we'd stolen her land. It was a desperate move, but it meant we were headed to court. My heart sank. Legal fees would cripple us, and I was due to give birth any day. Could we survive this? Have you ever fought for what's yours, knowing the cost might break you? As the court date loomed, I prepared for battle, gathering every scrap of evidence. The internet was still buzzing, with hashtags like "Shah's Justice for the Mom" trending. Supporters sent messages, some even offering to crowdfund our legal fees. It gave me strength. But the weight of Barbara's vendetta was crushing. I was fighting for my home, my family, and the truth, but at what cost? What happens when a lie pushes a family to the brink? The courtroom was waiting, and the real truth was about to come out. The courtroom loomed like a battlefield, and I was ready to face Barbara, even with my due date just days away. Her lawsuit was a desperate last stand. But the sale document I'd found, signed by her own hand, gave me hope. As Tom and I prepared with our lawyer, Emily, I felt our family's future hanging in the balance. The public was still buzzing, some cheering me on, others buying Barbara's poor widow act. But in that courtroom, the truth would finally come out. And what unraveled shocked us all. Have you ever seen a family secret explode in front of a judge? We arrived at the courthouse, my belly making every step a challenge. Barbara sat across the room, her face a mask of defiance, her lawyer whispering in her ear. The judge, a no-nonsense woman, called the case, and Emily presented our defense first. She held up the 1990s sale document, explaining how George had sold the land long before our purchase. "Mrs. Barbara's deed is outdated and legally void," Emily said, her voice steady. "Her claim is baseless." I glanced at Barbara, expecting her to squirm, but she just stared ahead. Unreadable. Then came Barbara's turn. Her lawyer argued she'd been misled about the sale, claiming George had promised her the land as part of her inheritance. It was a flimsy story, and the judge's raised eyebrow said she wasn't buying it. But then, Barbara took the stand, and her performance was Oscar-worthy. "I'm a widow, Your Honor," she said. her voice trembling. That land was all I had left of my husband. My son and his wife took it from me. The room went quiet, and I saw Tom flinch. Was she really trying to guilt-trip the court? Emily cross-examined her, holding up the sale document. You signed this, Mrs. Barbara? You knew the land was sold. Why claim it now? Barbara hesitated, then mumbled about clerical errors. But Emily pressed harder, revealing Barbara's recent real estate dealings. You listed other properties for sale, citing additional assets. Was my client's home one of them? Barbara's face went pale, and she stammered, That's unrelated. The judge leaned forward, her eyes narrowing. Can you imagine watching a lie crumble under oath? The real bombshell came when Emily called a surprise witness, the developer who'd bought the land from George, now retired. He testified that Barbara had been fully aware of the sale and had even negotiated a higher price. She was no victim, he said. She walked away with a hefty check. The courtroom buzzed, and I felt a surge of relief. Tom squeezed my hand, his face a mix of anger and betrayal. Barbara's lawyer tried to object, but the damage was done. Her story was falling apart, and the truth was undeniable. As the hearing wrapped, the judge didn't rule immediately, but her pointed questions to Barbara's team gave me hope. Outside, reporters swarmed, and I gave a brief statement. I just want my family safe. The internet exploded with support, but Barbara's silence was deafening. She left without a word, her lawyer trailing behind. Tom and I drove home, exhausted but united. The courtroom had exposed her greed. But would it be enough to end this? What happens when a family's darkest secrets spill out for all to see? The verdict was coming, and it would change everything. The courtroom drama had stripped Barbara's lies bare. But as we awaited the judge's ruling, I felt a mix of hope and dread. My baby was due any day, and the stress of this fight was taking its toll. Tom and I clung to each other, our marriage stronger for it. But the scars of Barbara's betrayal ran deep. When the verdict came, it was a moment of reckoning, not just for our home, but for what family really means. Was this justice, revenge, or something else? The answer left me questioning everything. And I need you to weigh in who really won. 2 days after the hearing, I went into labor. As I held my newborn daughter, Lily, in the hospital, Tom's phone pinged with an email from Emily. The judge had ruled Barbara's claim was dismissed. The sale document proved she had no legal right to our land, and her lawsuit was deemed frivolous. The judge even ordered her to cover our legal fees. A rare slap on the wrist. Relief washed over me, but it was bittersweet. Our home was safe, but the family we'd hoped for was fractured. Barbara had lost. But at what cost to us all? When we got home, Tom confronted his mother one last time. He called her, his voice firm. "Mom, it's over. You need to stop." Barbara's response was cold. "You chose her over me." She hung up, and Tom sat in silence, tears in his eyes. I ached for him, but I also felt a quiet strength. We'd fought for our daughter's future, and won. The internet celebrated, with comments like, "Justice served," and she got what she deserved. But some still defended Barbara, saying, "Family shouldn't air dirty laundry." What do you think? Should we have stayed quiet? Or was exposing her the only way? The aftermath wasn't tidy. Barbara moved to another state, cutting contact. Tom struggled with the loss, but therapy helped us rebuild. I posted a final video, cradling Lily, thanking supporters. This was about more than a house, I said. It was about standing up to greed and protecting love. The video went viral, sparking debates about family loyalty and toxic in-laws. Some called me a hero. Others said I'd gone too far. I wrestled with that. Had I fought for justice, or had revenge driven me? Maybe it was both. Looking back, the real lesson hit hard. Family isn't just blood, it's who fights for you. Barbara's greed tore us apart, but it also showed me Tom's strength and our resilience. I want you to think about your own family. What would you do if someone tried to steal your home, your peace? Share your thoughts below. Let's keep this conversation going. And if this story moved you, hit that like button, subscribe, and check out our next video on family betrayals. The truth always comes out, but it's up to us to decide what it means. This story began with a shocking betrayal. My mother-in-law, Barbara, demanded our home, threatening to evict me, a pregnant woman, over a fake deed. What unfolded was a battle of greed, lies, and family loyalty. I uncovered Barbara's plan to sell our house for profit, masking it as a legacy claim. As the conflict went viral, public outrage grew, but so did the strain on my marriage. Tom, torn between his mother and me, finally saw her deception when court evidence a sale document she'd signed proved her claim baseless. The judge dismissed her lawsuit, securing our home. But Barbara's refusal to back down fractured our family. She left, and we rebuilt, stronger, but scarred. This wasn't just about a house. It was about standing up to manipulation and protecting love. The internet debated, was I a hero or a vengeance seeker? I believe it was justice, but the cost was high. What would you do in my shoes? This story reminds us that family is who fights for you, and truth prevails. But it's up to us to decide its price. Share your thoughts below.